Happy Saturday, everybody, and welcome to MJC. I am Callie Ferrand. I'm joined by Tim Tulloch this morning, and as I mentioned yesterday with Keith, we had a bit of a false spring earlier on Thursday, but now we're back at wintertime, Tim.
Yes, and welcome to today at the races. It turned winter last night. In fact, I was just outside, just a little bit of sleet. Track is in really, really good condition, though. I walked across it just 10 minutes ago, so we're in for a good track all day today. Maybe a little wintry mix later, but it will do nothing to affect the track, I don't think.
Absolutely not, as we do have a fast track today, and it will keep that position as a fast track most likely, unless anything on my radar just pops up out of the blue. But let's go ahead and kick things on with our Today at the Races show. In this first race, that does start the early pick 5, of course, we've got that low industry takeout, so be sure you've got 59 minutes to get in on the action. That is plenty of time to get things going. It starts in this claiming 10,000 for the 4 years old and upward, which have never won 3, going 6 furlongs on the dirt for the girls. Tim, you've got the number 6 on top, and that is Shine Like a Diamond. This now in the barn of Phil Cap, and Axel Concepcion gets the ride.
Yeah, kind of a move. Basically, yes. The same barn from Dale to Phil. Phil taking over the business from Dale. But look at short freshing off a subpar performance recently against Tougher. But has races honor form that's good enough to get the job done here this afternoon. Even that race 2 back for that 25,000, only beaten 3 lengths, is good enough here this afternoon. You work back on her form. You'll see other races in the fall here at Timonium, Pimlico, and at Laurel. A couple works since then. Getting the bug boy this afternoon, Mr. Concepcion,
yes,
and 7-pound bug this afternoon. Going to be well placed, I would think, under that lightweight.
It's tough. I always peg this filly as just a stalking position type of filly, but it seems the only way they can get her to the winner's circle is going to the lead, and that's where the bug fits in. So why not Shine Like a Diamond? You also have the number 7, Salamina, for Cal Juarez. Gets Alexander Crispin today. Gave us a little bit of a teaser 3 back on an off track.
Yeah, and then there were races earlier this fall at Pimlico and Laurel that were kind of competitive. I think she's just found a group where she can fit in. Her last couple races, clearly she could not fit in. This race isn't particular deep. She might be able to get back to one of those races, couple work since, where she can be competitive.
Right, and exactly. She fits into this spot kind of well. Tim, you go 6, 7, 1, 2 in race number 1, but race number 2 kicks off the early pick 4. Tim, instead of Keith, you've got a ticket for us today. What are you giving it to us?
Yeah, $12 ticket on the cheap side.
There we go.
You just have to do this. 2-5 in race number 2. Race 3, I use the 6 and the 7. Race 4, the 1 and the 3, and I go 3 deep. In race 5, I use the 1, the 7, and the 9. The 9 is my price play of the day. Sultry Sally H, 6-1 on the line. $12 ticket for the early pick 4.
And we're going to get it a little bit into Tim's value play later on today in race number 5. But now we're at race number 2 in this claiming 16,000 event, going 6 furlongs on the turf for the 4-year-olds and upward, which have never won 2. Tim, you have the number 5 on top. Star Shopping within the barn of Troy Robin gets Angel Cruz today.
Yeah, dropping back down and turning back in distance. I think he may have enough speed to find the lead here today, although the horse down toward the fence, his Royal G, the 2, has some gas in the past coming off the layoff for Ben Perkins. But even if he can't, has the ability to lay off of it and come with some finish. Most recent race, too long, too tough, turns back to a sprint distance this afternoon, should work for Star Shopping.
Big advantage for Star Shopping today. You also have the number 2, his Royal G. As you mentioned, Ben Perkins Jr. gets the blinkers on and gets Rosario Martinez.
Yeah, looking at his form, at the end of the day, probably the most likely speed. We have not seen him since October 20th of this past year. But May and June last year, those were good races. Where he was up on the engine going 5.5 furlongs, 21-4, 22-1 up there at Delaware. Adds blinkers this afternoon, has been working well in the morning for the return. So don't be surprised if this one is your main speed, although I think he'll have some pressure.
I agree. And also to add to that, Benny Perkins has been 3 for 4, being first or second with the blinkers on as of recently. So that's a tight little barn trend that has been working for him as well. But Tim, you go 5-2, 1-6 here in race number 2. Race number 3 is a claiming 12-5 for the girls, going a mile and 16th on the dirt, of course, for the straight 3-year-olds. Big scratches in here. Scratch the 3, Dunder Boss. Scratch the 4, Joey the Fish. And scratch the 5, Cocktail Dreaming. Tim, we see this race pretty similar. We both have Ruxton Rocks on top, Brittany Russell and Kevin Gomez.
Yeah, this is a horse I had in the mix before the scratches. I had him picked behind Cocktail Dreaming and Dunder Boss. But look, she's getting back to 2 turns. She was a winner going 2 turns when breaking her maiden for the maiden 12-5. Real no excuse going that 1-turn mile in her last race. Maybe it just happens too quickly for her, just that long stretch. It could be any number of factors, but we're getting back to the 2 turns. She's had about 5 weeks. She's had 2 works since, and that's a good move for Brittany Russell. It looks like it may set up for Brittany and Kevin Gomez, who, by the way, hit at about 24%.
I saw this filly exact same way. I had her underneath regardless of the scratches, and I do see her also as a 2-turn as well. I think what happened last time out, she had that rail position. I don't think she got very comfortable with it, and she sulked back a little bit and just didn't regain any mentality going forward from that within the race. So let's talk about the number 6, though. Jessica's race for Carlos Martin gets J. Ron Barbosa today and comes to Laurel Park for the first time.
Yeah, I mean, just not much to say. I mean, cuts in half. Ran the Open 32 in her last start after breaking her maiden for the maiden 25 New York State bred race. So, yes, this is probably some class, just certainly class relief out of the Open 32. Is it going to be enough? Maybe. She has races back at Delaware, which figures that certainly would work here.
So the rest, and we also filled up with the 1 and the 2 underneath there in race number 3. Race number 4 kicks off the Rainbow Pick 6, and of course I've got a ticket. I also go El Cheapo, as Keith likes to say, a $21.60 ticket, race number 4 and 5. I go 3 deep in these 2 races. Race number 4 is a claiming 25, and race number 5 is a maiden claiming 12-5, going 6 furlongs on the dirt. Double down in race number 6 with the 2 and the 7, Albertano and Curlington. We've got a video coming up on them a little bit later. My single is on Crossland in that maiden claiming 4-5. I think she finds a nice field that to jump into for that level. Race number 8, I do go wide just because I can for the ticket structure that I have so far, but my top selection in that race is the number 9, Al Loves Josie, but a lot of others I can offer a little bit of excitement possibly there in our feature race of the day today. And of course, race number 9, our nightcap of the day, I go ahead, I single on the Phil Capuano Fartlek with that claiming 12-5 number at the end. But let's kick back to the start of the Rainbow Pick 6 in this 4th race, and that is a claiming 12-5, which have never won 2, going a mile and 16th on the dirt for the 4-year-olds and up. Tim, you've got the rail horse on top, a Aristocat for Anthony Ferrier, Louis Rivera Jr.
Yeah, getting Louis Rivera Jr., a new bug boy. I've ridden a couple of races. I've watched him ride a couple of races. Seems to be pretty okay. We rode a winner for Anthony last week. This one didn't show up at 3-1 most recently on February 1st. But draws a rail, has speed, has a bug boy and a lightweight. This one's probably going right to the front. You have to go in a mile 16th here if you have any kind of gas at all, because it's an advantage going into that first turn, coming from a hot outfit, 8-5 on the line. I think at the end of the day, he is the horse to beat in here, but there's a couple others certainly we need to talk about.
That are intriguing, and sure enough, you also go 2 back, and it's the same exact setup that this one's getting today. Claiming 25 on the rail to the lead, ran well 2 back for Aristocat. Let's talk about the number 6, who I have on top, Street Hustle, Hugh McMahon. The other bug boy, Axel Concepcion, just making the major drop down today.
Yeah, it's just a matter of he's ready, right? I mean, First time shows up as a first-time gelding today off a 15-month layoff. Was running in a first-level allowance of races when we last saw him in for the 2 for 25,000 this afternoon. Figures work in his last 2 races before he left. Look who he beat. Look who he ran just behind. Vance Scholars. We know what type of horse that is. It's all about the question is he healthy and is he ready to go a mile and 16th off such a long layoff? In a tougher heat, I'd say no. It probably can't happen. This bunch isn't terribly tough.
Right.
You might not have to be 100%. If you're at 89, 94%, it might be good enough.
Which is why the horse, I agree with you, Tim, that the one is the horse to beat in this race. But I just took a chance at maybe perhaps a little bit more. Hopefully the price can tick up a little bit from 5 to 2, but we'll see what happens. Let's talk about your number 3 underneath. Icy Minister from Miguel Vera gets Horacio Caramanos here today, just his last time out.
Yeah, this one just needs to not get so outrun. Not a bad effort most recently, finishing fourth, only getting the 2.5 lengths. But he's lost some of his speed. He used to have a little bit of speed. You don't have to go being that far back.
You're hoping for it back.
Yeah, I mean, you're hoping for it back. I mean, last spring, this horse would keep himself close going a mile. He even kept himself close going 3/4 of a mile, but we haven't seen that kind of speed since then. Just any kind of speed to keep this one closer instead of having to come from so far back in the clouds. So we'll see if that works. And plus, I don't know. I just hope he shows a little bit more gas. It was a good figure last time. Figure works, but it's not going to matter if you give yourself too much to do.
Here's hoping he gets himself placed a little bit more forwardly here in this fourth race. Tim Tullett goes 1-3-4-6. I go 6-1-3-4. Race number 5 is a maiden claiming 12-5 for the straight 3-year-old fillies going 6 furlongs here on the dirt. Tim, your value play of the day. Sultry Sally H for Kenny Cox gets Charlie Marquez, comes back second off the layoff.
Yeah, it wasn't my original value play of the day, but because of a scratch later, my value play was going to take too much money. So I switched it up here. Scratch into 3, Cammy Rochelle. That was a big scratch, but I like the 9 Sultry Sally H. Was my original top of pick, dropping to the bottom maidens after having been eased twice in a row. But if she can run back to that debut race on November 22nd, that's going to be good enough here. She got beat 3 lengths, 3 3/4 lengths for the whole thing, while running third. The number works in this group. If she can come back to that race, she's shown a little bit of speed. She's probably able to show that type of speed against these types. She has an outside draw. Charlie Marquez returns after easing this one twice. So take that for what it's worth, but it might be a little bit of a tell.
Let's see, and hopefully that is a little bit of a tell and gives you a little bit of a price. Tim, you also have the number 7 underneath. Waverly for Robbie Bales gets William Humphrey for the ride today, taking that ride from Dennis. But we get from the 5.5, to the 6, and what do you make of that?
Look, this filly's found a little life in her last 2. I mean, we're not going to go to the Bayer Hall of Fame numbers, but she did have good results. 2 consecutive thirds, beaten 3 lengths of both times with very positive short comments in that race. This is not a particularly tough group. It could work for Waverly this afternoon.
And we'll see. The number 1 who you also have underneath is She'll Make Waves, the first-time starter for Jerry Robb and Xavier Perez.
You have to, don't you? And when you get to this sort of a bottom maiden claiming level with a guy who hits 19%. And look at those works. There's a couple of sneaky good works there. January 7th, 49 flat from the gate. February 19th, 101 and 4 from the pole. Those are good works. Going to have to do it from the fence, but Rob's runners typically come well prepared for their debut race.
We'll see if he can make it off of the rail. We'll find out in race number 5, and we'll also find out about the rest of this card after this commercial break.
By 4 and moving away.
Welcome back. We're taking a look at race 6 in this starter allowance, going 1 mile and 16th on the dirt for the 4-year-olds and up. Tim, let's go ahead and kick it to the video on your 2 top selections, Curlington and Albertano. We're taking a look from January 28th from the 3/8 pole onward.
Yeah, this is a fun sort of race. Well, let's watch Albertano first. He's a 7 right there. Watch this move right in between horses. This was a quick move to get up in contention. on the fence. That's Curlington on the outside, the 6 in the white blinkers, and they're going to take it from here down to the wire. Now, with that quick move, I had thought Albertano had gotten the best of Curlington, but simply wasn't the case. But look at this. Albertano's allowed to drift out a bit this afternoon, impeded with Curlington a little bit. They never really had any contact, but you watch the head-on. But pushes him out a little bit. But Curlington gets game enough and gets his nose down on the wire. These two meet again this afternoon. Also in that video was Shoot the Messenger, who ran third that day. He's in this afternoon. But we'll start with Curlington on the outside. Hey, look, he's an 11-time winner. You just saw him getting up in that race and beating Albertano, beating Shoot the Messenger. He's going to have to work out another trip. You know, he was 4 wide in both turns last time. It's going to be the same case this afternoon. William Humphrey's going to have to work out some sort of trip from the outside, going this mile and 16th here at Laurel. But he has the ability to lay, as he's shown. If he can save a little bit more ground, maybe he can win a little bit easier and keep it going. This horse knows how to win. He was 6 for 13 in 2022. And he's had to work since.
He also doesn't mind this distance as well. 4 for 7, placing either first or second at this mile and 16. So he was definitely getting tired. You could tell at that mile and 8th, but he was chugging on. So again, it's as you mentioned, it's all about trying to make things easier for himself in this trip, and hopefully William Humphrey can give that to him. But let's dig into a little bit more detail on Albertano for Kieran McGee and Jamie Rodriguez.
Yeah, back to Laurel, where has had all his career wins. Went to Charlestown most recently. It wasn't a terrible race. 2 back, that was the race you just watched. That was a big effort. Well, just missing to Curlington. He was a 5-time winner last year. These two horses know how to win. That race back on October 16th at Delaware Park. That could work here also. That was a big number. 72 is lifetime best. He's been in pretty good form going back to October. So I expect him to show up again this afternoon.
He's a horse that's always going to show up and be knocking on the door. And as you mentioned, back to Laurel Park where he loves it. So 2, 7, 5, 8. Let's talk about the 5 for a quick second. Shoot the Messenger. David Mohan, Charlie Marquez. I noticed in that video that he did stay on the left lead 2 back on January 28th.
Yeah, he comes right back in. He just ran on February 18th. He was third, as you mentioned. We've talked about behind our top 2 picks. But this is a horse who's done this before. In fact, he did this from October 26th to November 3rd, and he came back with a big race in a first-level allowance race and ran a big figure 76. He's coming off a nice race. We ran a 77 by our speed figure going 7/8 of a mile where he was outrunning and he closed. That was 6-7 days ago. I think this is a perfect setup. He stretches back out. If he'd worked 3/4 of a mile 7 days ago, no one would think twice about it, right? So now he comes off what is an easy race where he galloped around there a little bit and finished a little bit, and now he comes back going a mile and a 16th, a distance that he's a little bit more comfortable at. So I like this horse a little bit, and he could blow the whole thing up for our top picks.
Let's see if he could repeat his pattern that you noticed back in the fall. We'll see, but Shoot the Messenger, 7-2, 5-8. Both of us also include Carte Blanche. Tim Tulloch goes for those picks there in race number 6. Race number 7 is a maiden claiming 45, going a mile on the dirt for the 4 and 5-year-olds. Let's talk about Awesome Strike, who you have on top. Justin Nixon, Horacio Caramanos, a nice effort at Tampa last time out.
Yeah, big scratch in here, the 4-year analysis. Yes. But I did have Awesome Strike on top from the beginning. He is my original price play of the day, but with the scratch year analysis, he's going to take more money. There's no doubt about it. First time with Nixon, first time on conventional dirt this afternoon. He has good, solid numbers going around the ground on the turf. He's by Awesome again, out of a Tis Now mare. Those will run on a main track. And look at this this gelding. It's been working very, very well here at Laurel Park. 101 and change February 9th. 1 minute and 2/5 on February 19th sitting on this race for Justin Nixon. So I'll take Awesome Strike. Not going to get at the price that I originally thought, but I like Awesome Strike here. First time on conventional dirt.
Let's take a look at Crossland back last time out at the top of the stretch. We're taking a look at this crucial part of this one-turn mile that we have here at Laurel, Tim.
Yeah, look, this is a big race from Crossland. It ends up running a lifetime best figure. Excuse me. He had done all the work in this race. He had been on the lead with the pace, setting the pace. And here comes a Rudy Sanchez Solomon horse, Luigi Spirit, who just comes up and gets him toward the end. But it wasn't for a lack of try. I mean, this horse is trying all the way down there to the wire. Never showed any sign of give up. If he can come back and run that same race today, he's going to be very, very tough.
It's tough because I'm looking at this horse's form again, and I'm constantly seeing second, and I have him on top, and you have him underneath. So you just, again, not for the lack of trying, but just by the pattern, might have been a smart move to go with Justin Nixon on top.
And look, this horse breaking from the outside is going to be well positioned from the outside. We know, it's going a mile, but still, that outside speed counts wherever you have it, unless you're going in the first turn, going mile 16th at Laurel Park. That's not so good.
We'll see how that goes. We also both include the number 1 underneath, Nico Lucky. Why not? Trying a route for the first time, just almost got it that first time asking.
Sneaky good little small horse operation, Jose Magana. This one stretches and steps up. Second time in his career. That was a good effort first time out. Now, again, it was against softer. The maiden 16 jumps up to the maiden 45 this afternoon. But it was a good race with a good solid number, a 50 Beyer speed figure. That's close to winning this race. If he can stretch out, breeding suggests should be able to do it.
Definitely, as Golden Lad is 18% with his second-time starters and 21% with his first-time routers, so I think that's a pretty nice combination to be able to handle this one-turn mile. I think well spotted on the breeding, but there we have it, 5-7-1-3 for Tim Tulloch there in race number 7. Race number 8 is our feature race of the day in this allowance optional, claiming 55, going 6 furlongs on the dirt for the 4-year-olds and up. Let's talk about, you and I both have this one on top. On the outside, Al loves Josie for Jerry Robb and Xavier Perez. Your best bet of the day.
Yeah, my best bet of the day. I mean, I know it's a risky best bet of the day because this is a tough heat. Scratch the 11 War Toscan, which we expected. But this is a tough little heat. But Al loves Josie. It's been in solid form since September. She's coming off a lifetime best race in that 2 other than in her most recent start, February 11th, 94 by her speed figure. Look who she beat that day. Mr. Hustle. Mr. Hustle would come back and win yesterday in a third level allowance condition. And Holy Synchronicity would come back and give Doppelganger everything he could handle. Run for his money in the 2 other than. So Al loves Josie beat a couple runners in his last start. Speed from the outside. We just talked about that. We like speed from the outside. Xavier Perez rides again. This is a powerful combination. I like Al loves Josie, my best bet of the day.
He gets lucky getting on the outside again. Sometimes I can get a bit persnickety about this horse when he gets to these inside positions, but you bring it up, Tim. The horse has been improving and getting more confident as we've been going on. So as he's been getting more confident, I've been getting more confident in him. Al loves Josie, 3-1. Let's talk about the number 2, and let's take a look at Threes Over Deuces back from January 29th from the 3-ace poll to the wire.
Yeah, Kiss had a song back in the day, Hard Luck Woman. This is Hard Luck Horse. I mean, look at Threes Over Deuces, 20 times second. Look at him move here. He's moving like a winner. He's going to win this race right now until about right here when he has to just whoa up a little bit, just enough that Sir Alfred James gets the jump on him and gets away by that length and a half, and he can never really close up the gap. But again, it's not because he's not trying. This horse shows up every single time. He hasn't seen the winner's circle in 2022, did not see the winner's circle in 2023 so far in 2 starts, but he's been second twice. But he's going to show up in some sort of capacity. That was a race he probably could have won without having to be held up there a little bit. He gets a little bit better trip today, and no fault of Barbosa in that case. I mean, he really had nowhere to go. You're hoping for a seam to open. You're not going to go 4 or 5 wide at that point.
This is horse racing.
Right.
This is what happens.
So he had to kind of sit a little bit. Hopefully a cleaner trip today, and can turn the tables for threes over deuces. I'd love to see him get in the winner's circle because that's discouraging for everybody involved.
Exactly. So we have a solid choice, 9 to 9 and then 2. We also have the number 4. I'm surprised with how much that could happen in this race. I'm surprised we both landed on the same selection. So let's talk about Indian Lake with Hugh McMahon now. William Humphrey has had a couple of starts in the Hugh McMahon barn ever since being claimed from Jamie Ness.
Yeah, I mean, this could have been my video spotlight, his last race, February 5th, but I was going to have to put a rating on it. Checked in steady 5/8, checked at the half-mile pole. It was a bit of a horror show for Indian Lake. But 2 starts back, that was a good race going 3/4 of a mile. He beat 3 over deuces. He beat Escalatory, who's in this race also, and ran a good solid number. He's capable of doing a couple things. He can lay off the pace like he did 2 starts ago, or he can be right up with the pace like he did in the Newcastle with a horse who you might know named Where She Told Me to Go. So this horse can do a couple different things. It makes this race very interesting.
It is super interesting, and since we're here, why not? Let's just touch very, very quickly on going to the lead for Norm Cash and gets J.D. Acosta. Gets a little bit of time in between races. We haven't seen this one since early February.
Yeah, rallied while wide in his most recent. Has races on his form that works. 2 starts ago, that wasn't a bad race. He was just behind threes over deuces on that race on January 29th. A couple races earlier, late last year at Laurel Park. Those were good efforts, good solid numbers. A second, a third, just beating a neck behind Karen's Notion. At 3/4 lengths behind, Always in a Hurry. So the races are there, and this is another horse that can be asked to go to the front or lay and still come with some finish. So certainly our feature race has made up for some of the other not as intriguing. They're intriguing races because they're tough to handicap. Don't get me wrong. But this is a nice race, and it's certainly a highlight of the card.
Definitely a highlight of the card by far and wide. So we could talk about some others in this race, but we're going to get going and talk about our nightcap of the day. This claiming 12.5 going 1 mile and 16th on the dirt for the straight 3-year-olds. Tim, you've got the number 4 on top. Fun, Love, and Criminal for Claudio Gonzalez, and Yomar Ortiz retains the ride.
Yeah, you just have to be watch these horses that are dropping. This one's dropping from the 32 to the 20 his last start. Didn't run a terrible race. Drops to the bottom here this afternoon, the 12.5. I expect him to be closer to the pace than he has been. He's shown the ability to stay close to the pace as he did last September up there at Monmouth, especially going 2 turns at this level. He should be right there sitting off the lead.
There we go. And then we also have the number 3 underneath. Farltech for Phil Capuano gets William Humphrey. Let's take a look at that run from January 27th from the quarter pole onwards.
Yeah, this is Fartlek. It's not a dirty word. It's actually a cross-country training.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's basically a variation of speeds when you're training
okay,
mostly
now
for
I feel
cross-country.
Yes,
Fartlek. Yep. Yeah, we did a lot of Fartleks back in our day. But look at it. Here we go. Fartlek right here. This is just almost a painful race to watch because it looks at this point like nobody wants to win this race. Like, do you want to do it? No, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. And here comes Fartlek, who kind of gets up alongside, well, maybe, and then watch this surge right here. He goes, oh, okay, maybe I will, maybe I will, maybe I will. It happened in the last 4 strides of the race.
Yes.
It was like, okay, maybe this is what I'm supposed to do. So it was a good effort. He got the maiden done. Maiden race 1 in his 3rd lifetime race. Decent enough number for this group. And comes back with a work sense for Phil Capuano. So let's see if he can do it again.
Yeah, once he got I feel like he's one of those horses that once he gets the hang of it, he's like, okay, now we got it. And once he got in front of the other horses, then he kept going, even after in his gallop out, which I looked up afterward. I love the gallop out of what I saw last time out, which is why I am taking a little bit of a risk with my single, but I just wanted to keep my ticket cheap. So if you can go too wide in those races, I would go with our top 2 selections, the 3 and the 4. Any quick words on the 5 or the 2, Tim?
Yeah, look, the 5 has back form. You go back to his races last fall. Those were good efforts with numbers that win this race here today when he's running the maiden special weight race. Coming out of the same race as my top pick, Fun Loving Criminal, another one getting class relief this afternoon. Don't be surprised if you see Mikey Gorman, Jamie Rodriguez send this one right up down toward the front too. I think speed is going to materialize in this race, because sometimes you get to these type of races and you go, okay, well, maybe if we show him the lead for the first time in his life, he'll like it and keep going.
Yeah, all about a pattern change, especially with horses at this type of level. But there we have it here for this Saturday's card. And now let's discuss Tim's value play and best bet. Let's start with your value play of the day. I believe that's race number 5 with the number 9. As you're shifting, I'm scrolling. Number 9, Sultry Sally H for Kenny Cox.
Yeah, this one, as I mentioned, eased in his last 2 races, but debut race at the main 45 level was a good effort, going 5.5 furlongs right here at Laurel Park, getting pretty good class relief this afternoon out of the maiden 45 down to the maiden 12. Maybe got a little discouraged when he could not get to the front against Tougher. If he can get to the front and stay in clean air, could be a big difference for Sultry Sally H and Charlie Marquez. And of course, my best bet is Al Loves Josie in race number 8, the 9 horse. He's just in very, very good form. A couple horses we talked about came back to win and run very well yesterday. Mr. Hustle and Holy Synchronicity out of an outfit who stays hot all the time. This outfit never goes cold, ever. And just stays, keeps going on a roll, makes all the right moves. Rob Xavier Perez. So Al Loves Josie. Speed from the outside. I'll take that.
9 seems to be the number for Tim Tulloch in both his best bet and value play of the day. And we're going to head on over to Dave Rodman for some more changes and scratches here on Saturday.